And welcome. This is going to be my first video on JavaScript. I'm actually going to have to talk about a few topics. Also, after I make all my videos for JavaScript, I'm going to I'm going to make several videos for JavaScript itself, but I'm going to get into other titles as well and give videos about them, such as Java, PHP, MySQL, servlets and JSP, Android, iPhone app development, thus far right now starting, and definitely also in JavaScript. So I keep forgetting. It's talk about frameworks, jQuery, Node.js, and several others. But let me get started. This is going to be a quick video. This is going to explain basically everything with an HTML page and also an external JS. This does not have any functionality toward a database server side, and it's even client side. Basically, it's just going to be up front. And this is a quick intro what a form looks like, and interact with a JS external, and I'll go from there, and then I'll break everything down after that. So my first page, you have the let me explain everything within the page itself as well. You have the doc type HTML. This basically is the new one, so it's not several new. It's been maybe a couple years out or several years out now. This is HTML5, and you have that here. This is HTML5 form. The way it's done. This is a doc type. Basically, the doc type talks to the browsers, make sure it's done correctly. It's in standards mode. There's no mistakes within the page itself because it'll render probably the errors towards you, and a few others. And it's almost as cross-platform to Google Chrome, Firefox, and as well as Safari and several others. Right here you have your HTML, you have your head tag, you got your title tag. Underneath here is the shiv tag. The shiv tag basically it's a script tag for which, if you're using a browser from later years, such as like IE, Internet Explorer, it basically will load. It will not attempt to load the script, basically, and then you get quirks. If it does, it'll just destroy. This will make it safe, so you can render it well, looking good. If not, it's gonna look a little messed up. What they would say is quirks. So that's what that is for, and everybody puts that in a lot of their HTML tags now. It's protection, basically. Now you got your form tag here. Meta, here goes your head tag, here goes your body tag. Body tag here, 1, light that up. Body tag 2. So even if when you light them up, it should light up the bottom piece. Let me light up form. Form should come to the bottom. Everything is done within brackets itself. Field set, which you would use in HTML5, field set is where your input for your forms is, where there's your email input, your name, first name, last name, submit code, submit button, sorry, those type of things. You also have here they go. Legend with Basic gives it the title. And let me see what else is in here. Now you have your divs. Divs is divs. A lot of this is CSS things. It's bracket itself. I'm not a master at CSS, to tell you the truth, at all. But I'm just gonna try to explain some of it. Basically, it's my container. I put everything within this div. It's a container to hold everything in. That's what that is right there. And everything in that thing is just gonna be my password title, my password input screen, and what else? The form tag, basically. So here we go. This is my label. My label is going to be my first name. It's going to be for first name. This right here, what you would see, is going to be shown up on the page itself. Let me just run this thing so we can look at it real fast on the page. Here it goes. Here's my first name right here, and here's my input box. And login gives me the box itself. So when I go back here, where is it? You'll see it. Login gives me the box, and the div gives me a little section. So I go back here, gives me a little section. That's my first div. This is my second div. This is my third div, my fourth div. That's how that goes. So you have, what type of input is it going to be? It's going to be text. I'm typing in regular text, such as my first name. You have name here for first name, then you have ID for first name, then you have required. The required itself here, here, here. Basically is you cannot skip that section. You cannot skip this section here. It will not allow you to. Let me see if I hit login. There you go. Please fill out this form. That's what it is. It will not let you skip. So name here is the name value, which would be excellent if you're working with the server side and you needed to get in touch or pull information from your database. The name attribute here is what you would look for it under. Under this first name, it's under name. ID is if you're doing, it's for JavaScript, it's your ID value, so you could pull it just using the ID within JavaScript, almost like client side. So I will use this for server side, I will use this for client side, JavaScript, that type of stuff. It also has a required button here, not a required button, but required meaning you have to fill in the form and you cannot skip it. Down here you have your submit button, value, login, that, your ID, submit. Right here I have a script tag. This is basically where JavaScript goes. I can either put it here. My source is going to be a JS. This JS right here is a folder. So if I go back here, it's going to be my folder itself right there, that folder of mine. My login.js, underneath it is my login.js, which is within the folder itself. That's how I'm going to put, I can put the script tag here, which would be good because Yahoo basically likes that you put it in the bottom so it can pull, JavaScript can load the whole page before it gets a script tag. But you can also put it in between your head tags right in there. That's how that looks. Let me break this down. Here goes the JavaScript external file. So in JavaScript you do a lot of event driven, it's an event driven language. So you basically, it's loading off a web page, it's checking the elements, button links, it's movement of cursor around and move over, move out. It's an event driven language basically. So within the code itself, the login.js, I have a function here with several of the attributes I want to pull. I want to validate it right here to make sure, validate is to make sure that information I put into the form itself, this information here, once I click enter, it jumps to validate it. Here is a function in it. I'll explain that real quick. And this is my event listener for Windows load event. Basically, this short little code here makes sure the browser completely rendered to reference elements in the DOM. I'll explain DOM eventually, but this is just a quick overview of what a form looks like, how to interact with a login.js. But always remember this right here. This is event listener. Event listener is almost as if when you click the submit button, it'll feel basically not feel, but it's an event, and this will occur. This will be rendered. It'll actually shoot up to this function, walk right through this itself, and then it'll login.form on submit. When you submit that button, it'll shoot to this function, validate form, which is a function at the top, validate form. Get all the elements that we put in right here, validate all of them, and then let you basically go through, log in, if it's going straight to the database or not. So a quick explanation of some of these. Let's run through. I put some functions here. Let me look at the bottom one first. On submit, let's just put that. Let's just put the last name. Let's give it a real email. Password you won't see. On clicking it, that's on submit, it gives me an error. Don't worry about that. Basically, it's not connected to no database. There's no function. You're gonna get the error. That's no problem. Don't worry about it. This is just a quick little overview. But on submit, or the windows.onload equals init. That's initialize. That's what it means, initialize. So we're going to mention that this event listener will basically, it's almost referencing an element within the DOM. Confirms that the browser is completely loaded. The entire page is loaded. That's what basically it does. Once that happens, this code, almost as if it comes up here basically on submit, because you're basically calling the init function. And this here, confirm that the document.getElementById can be used. So if the document and the document that getElementById, the login form var variable equals document.getElementById login form, that's my login form. If I went back here, my login.php, but here goes the ID. Login form, pull in that. Right here, login form can be used. So login.onSubmit equals validate form. That basically is here. Below is the event listener. An example of this is the element. The element is the login form. The event is the onSubmit. That's the button you press. Go back here. The login button equals the function validate form. So once it's done that, it will jump up into here, come up here. That click will call this validate form. So this is a function called when the form is submitted. The function validates the form data and returns a Boolean value. That's either going to be true or false as a value. Let me put that in. Then it forces you to write good code basically. Now this right here, when you see, this will explain this little piece right here. When you see use strict, best to use it all the time underneath your functions, because basically it forces you to write good code. It's error generated by problematic code. It will generate errors within your code if you've done it wrong. Security and performance are improved. It warns you about code that may not be used with future updates of code standards. Now, getting references to the form elements. The getElementById is a method of the document object. This is my document when it's within my browser. Now, first name, last name, email, password. So I always have to use equals document, as you can see, dot getElementById. So I need to get the ID from each of my elements. First name, last name, email. Let me go back to login. You have your ID is first name. You got your ID last name. You got your ID email. Got your ID password. So I go back here. I pull all of them. Okay. Now, validating. One of the important things, you want to validate a lot of your data you put in within your code. That's pretty important. So we also want to look at that. So we have how it validates it. So if you have to find the element's current value, you refer basically to the variable, the values property. It would be, you have your email dot value. You have my email basically dot the value, my value property. Within that, what did I put into that form here? What did I put in there? What did I put in as a value property? And the length, basically how many characters has. If it's equal greater than 0, basically that means you put something in it, then you tell it to validate it. If it's 0, it's going to blow you an error here. That means you didn't put anything into the form. You didn't type anything in there. So my email I'm checking, the value I put in there, and the character length. And I'm going to check the password, dot value, the dot length, same thing. And I'm going to keep going down, checking first name, checking last name, same thing. Always remember you need to put dot value, dot length there. I'll return to true. This is a conditional statement, explain it later on. Return true, else alert me, please complete the form. Tell me complete the form is there, and then return false. So basically, fast here, form. I input my data. Got my connection here. No, I input my data right here. Once I do that, on submit, once I click the submit button, boom, it'll jump here. Since I clicked it, the button, submit, it listens for an event listener. As in Java, that's what JavaScript does. Right here, the window.onload, once the whole page has rendered, it's onload, equals init, which is short for initialize. It will initialize my function. Here it is. Then, as I mentioned here, use strict. What I gave you the explanation for that. It'll confirm that all my documents within the document itself that get element ID can be used. So I'll start it. I have to create a variable here to catch all the information from my login form. Login form, remember, was this login form. Then you also have, I want to validate it. So login form dot on submit. Once I click it, dot, always you need to use a dot. I'll explain that. It's almost like methods in Java. I don't want you to get confused. It's just the way they use what they call functions, what Java will call methods. JavaScript uses functions, Java uses methods. Dot on submit equals validate my form. So I'm basically telling it to go use my form. I won't explain it here, but usually Java will use brackets. They look like this. Sorry, like that, but you're not using that. But it'll be these, just like that. But you don't use it in JavaScript. You don't have to. Basically, it'll call that function. It'll pull all the information here. It'll validate it, and it'll render it. And that's how simple it is. I'll get into more making sure the information reaches a database, how you can pull it out of the database and not. And that's it. What? Okay. Hold on.